Thank you so much, everyone, for this amazing invitation, and to all the organizers who have so graciously given me this spot here. I'm sure some of you have heard about us, or maybe you have colleagues or trainees within the network, or are one of our Twitter followers online. So thank you. And I'm really excited to share today a little bit more about who we are, some of our philosophy, and some current initiatives we have. If you're following us on social media, you've realized we just published a new story chronicling our first ever virtual meet and greet. And so I'll talk a little bit about what we talked about there, and then finally share with you some ways to get involved as members in the comp bio community, continuing to be allies and learn a little bit more. So yeah, thank you so much for this invitation. And as mentioned before, my name is Jenea Adams, and I am a PhD student currently at the University of Pennsylvania in the Genomics and Computational Biology program. I am a member of the Yijing Lab, and I'm really excited about cancer genomics, RNA biology, and bioinformatics. I'm also a first-generation college student, so navigating graduate school again at a new level was a really new and interesting experience for me, and something that was really important for me, and something that was important for me as I was navigating this journey was being able to find individuals who not only were supportive of me, right? I have a lot of individuals in my network who advocate for me and are allies, and I consider mentors, but what is especially inspiring is seeing individuals who look like me achieving things that I also want to achieve. People that can understand the many intersections of my identity, not only as a woman in science, but a Black woman in science. And so I'm here today to share a little bit more about how I transferred or transformed just a small tweet and originally a Google spreadsheet of about 8 individuals, Black women in the field that I knew, hoping to connect with, and a small Slack channel into an organization that is focused on action. With so many talented Black scientists everywhere in the world, a question that's really interesting to me is that even when Black people are no longer a minority in their spaces, I'm wondering why their scientific contributions aren't equally acknowledged all the time, or what can be done to showcase scientists like me. And so that's kind of the focus of the network right now, and our mission right now is to amplify those voices, to continue fostering community amongst Black women in the computational biology field across the diaspora. And what we're working towards right now, or our end goal essentially right now, is, even though it's evolving, is a computational biology community that encourages and supports the active participation of Black women scientists across the diaspora at every professional level. And so who are we? Well, we are a global online networking platform that supports the intersectional community of Black women in the field. Our community is comprised of people from obviously biology, but computer science, bioengineering, biomedical informatics. We have many public health data scientists, and of course mathematicians, but also the structural biologists, so biochemistry and biophysics, biotechnologists, and also individuals who are just getting started diving into applying data science into their experimental studies. So that's something that's really exciting, and something that we really pride ourselves on, with the diverse backgrounds that so many of our scientists come from. And of course, I don't do all of this alone. We have an amazing and tremendous new faculty and senior scientist advisory board that continues to contribute their experiences, their networks, and essentially their insight into the growth of the network at this time, and just continuing to ensure that all of our collaborations, our partnerships, our initiatives continue to stay true to our mission and vision, but also provide a little bit more of a broader perspective of is everything that we're doing continuing to serve the broader computational biology community, but also other Black women scientists in the field. So I'm incredibly grateful for Doctors Tracy Johnson, Nyasha Chambwe, Stacy Finley, and Casey Overby Taylor to be as members currently of this amazing advisory board. And I really look forward to them continuing to provide their insights to the growth of the network. And so what is it that we do? I've tried to categorize sort of our initiatives into about 5 different pillars that sort of make up the network as an organization and how we continue to work towards our vision through our mission. And these are essentially a resource amplification, science communication, intergenerational collaboration, critical scientific engagement, and we do all of this through a global citizenship perspective. So for me, resource amplification is essentially creating that visibility and creating that platform for opportunities such as research opportunities, grad school positions, postdoc positions, jobs, and anything of the like that are essentially left out of or our members would probably be left out of if they don't necessarily have those connections and those networks built within their professional communities already. Science communication is something that is continuing to be very important to us. We have individuals who are explicitly excited about being science communicators, whether that's through blogs or continuing to build their skills as journalists or editors within the science community. And so continuing to share our stories and create a platform to share our journeys throughout computational biology, but also I'll mention a little bit later our partnership with PLOS Computational Biology and that increased platform for continuing to have the conversation of creating inclusive or liberating environments within the STEM field. Intergenerational collaboration comes into play because though most of our members are trainees, so we have a small pocket of undergraduates, we are mostly graduate students and PhD students, but we also have a larger handful of faculty, senior scientists, industry professionals, and other representatives and postdocs. And so all of this really contributes to the foundation for a tiered mentoring framework. Really being able to engage with individuals at different stages of their careers. It's what's super important to us. And so I'm really excited about this aspect as well. Critical scientific engagement. Everything that we do is going to continue to put the amazing science that all of our individuals in the network put forth and contribute to. And so creating those platforms for communicating what we do, but not only sharing our work, but engaging within the broader computational biology community, making individuals feel more welcome and involved in scientific discussions and proceedings is what's really important to us. And so we have an upcoming seminar and workshop series where we'll be doing that, having lots of opportunities to interact with the rest of the STEM community and having our science be at the forefront of everything we do. And of course, we do all of this through a global citizenship perspective. So we're not just made up of individuals within the United States or one state or one country. We're really spread out at this point into various countries in Africa, the UK, other parts of Europe, other areas. And I think what's important for me here is to continue empowering and inspiring individuals to feel that they can make an impact in STEM and their communities, no matter where their feet are planted in the world. And so every initiative that we put forth really is something with that hopefully we have the end goal of impacting not only our local communities, but our global communities as well. And so I really would encourage you all to go onto our website, onto the Connect page to meet all of these amazing individuals. Right on our Connect page on our website here, you can see some awesome and amazing profiles of some of the members that we have. We're currently, I think, at 84 total members within the network, and about 120 plus allies within the community. So on this Connect page, you're able to click on individual profiles, and it'll take you to LinkedIn pages or personal websites or GitHubs so that you can learn more and interact with some of the awesome talent that's within our community. There's always people trying to contact an individual with a certain set of skills or a background in something that they're also interested in. So I'm really excited about being able to showcase our members on this front. And so the rest of the time today, I'd love to spend some time talking a little bit more about our philosophy and kind of how that came to play in the discussions that we had at our first meet and greet. Something that I really had to think critically about when creating this community is what actually makes it unique. Of course, there are not many affinity groups focused to Black women within this particular field of STEM, but I think this is not only a question for myself as someone who started this, but something that we're continuing to analyze and discuss as members within the community. And so a question that I had was, what does it mean to have a seat at the table? Like, what does that phrase actually mean? I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and seeing references from a lot of books as what it means to feel included in your environment. And so I came up with the fact that this term is often used throughout corporate culture to indicate a leadership position or a position with an opportunity to shape, influence, and impact key decisions being made. However, it's a phrase that also carries a connotation of ownership of that table and represents a long exclusionary history of intercommunity politics and inaccessibility. And so some more questions that stem for this for me was what is the table? And who does the table belong to? And why doesn't everyone already have a seat? And I think what I would like the network to be focused on is not necessarily creating a seat at said table. We're not necessarily, I don't want us to be focused on trying to feel included in an environment that may or may not have been created to involve us in, created for our thriving. And so I think what you could think of the network as is an organization focused on reorganizing or reinventing or creating a whole new separate table, right? So putting our science first also means creating the platform and creating the space to continue to discuss who we are as individuals, our backgrounds, our experiences, but also to do this and to break down barriers that prevents other marginalized communities within STEM to do that. And so I think everything that we do is certainly indicative of this goal, but at the same time, everything that we do as an organization is not only going to benefit us as individuals or as Black women in this field, but will eventually make an impact on STEM in general, but especially the computational biology community, with it being so interdisciplinary and communicating being so essential. And I think one thing I want to take the time to emphasize here is that our table is going to serve everyone. Our table and our space is really created, of course, for the benefit of Black women. But when everyone's included, then when Black women are included, then we can begin talking about including everyone else as well. And so beginning to talk a little bit more about what we discussed at our meet and greet, excuse me, we spent a lot of time just getting to know each other, of course, but a lot of the topics of discussion were talking about the Black experience as not only a woman in STEM, a Black woman in STEM, but a Black woman in the STEM field that can seemingly be kind of small, but it's so broad and so diverse. So basically, we just started talking about what excites us about computational biology. Of course, it's very interdisciplinary. A lot of us agree that it's a field that allows you to enter from many different aspects and allows you to grow and try new things. Lots of us, of course, love using code to solve problems and ask complex biological questions in a creative way, through a creative perspective. But with all of this being said, on a more serious and scientific front, there's so much opportunity for computational biology to continue to be diversified as a field. Who gets to attend the larger conversations or the larger conferences, or publish the most, or be editors in determining what is important in our field. And I think this was one of the most important parts of opening up sort of, okay, so when we're thinking about what our current communities look like, what our current networks look like, what are the demographics of those? Most people indicated when asked how many Black people are currently in their lab, the average answer was 1 to 2. All of the answers were under the single digits. But for those who answered an average of 1 to 2 other Black people, most of them were the only Black individual in that field, or in that lab, or that department, or working group, or anything in that immediate environment. Also, we asked, how many Black women in Comp Bio did you know before joining the network? And most people knew no more than 2 Black women. Some people knew faculty, most people knew people from that they've interviewed with, or seen along the interview trail, or have studied alongside. But I think when we're really talking about wanting to feel seen and visible and included, not only because your department is putting forth many initiatives, but really seeing yourself in a position of success and feeling like you belong. This is one of the major points to take notice of, I believe, is that most of us are the only one, and I'll talk a little bit later about the effects that this can sort of have as not only just minorities sometimes, because some of us are not minorities, but what impact does this play on the individuals around us who are trying to act as allies, or who are PIs, or who are colleagues? So the next question was, do you feel supported as a Black woman in your field? The common answer here was not in the past, but many individuals indicated a big shift in the way that we talk about inclusion and support for not only minorities within STEM, but just transforming the academic culture as a whole. And so now, even though individuals cited that this was around some sort of transition from or to the academy, I think it's really important to note that if you're spending any time on social media, especially Twitter, we're really in a moment of engaging with one another, creating those spaces for discussion and critical thinking around the experiences of marginalized individuals within STEM communities. And so I think there's a really important aspect to kind of not only marginalized individuals in the community, but what does it mean to be an ally? For those individuals who answered, they feel more supported now than ever. They cited an important aspect was allyship. For me, a question I asked to allies is, are you listening first and moving forward in life by critically analyzing the world around you? Are you examining things and questioning things that already make you comfortable? Or are you advocating? Are you providing platforms? And sometimes the answer to these questions is not just a yes or no, but it's more of a how are you doing this? We talked a little bit about, a member talked about feeling targeted when you are the only one. And I wanted to bring up how there are 2 sides to feeling targeted in your environments when you may or may not be the only one of something. Of course, we know that this could be overt racism, right? Microaggressions or macroaggressions, or other overt actions that make you question your worth or your belonging in that environment. And a lot of this is linked to imposter syndrome, but sometimes when you have a little bit more of a marginalized or underrepresented minority identity, it kind of transcends more than imposter syndrome, especially when those actions and that attitude and that perspective is ingrained in the environment that you currently work in. But sometimes if you're the only one, there's that feeling of being a token, right? Being the only Black person in your space makes you automatically the diversity and inclusion professional in that field, or wanting people wanting to ask you to speak for the entire Black or marginalized population, people expecting you to have answers to all the issues of what's wrong with diversity in that space. And I think all of this as well makes individuals feel put on the spot all the time. And I think something that we talked about and mentioned is that we just want to kind of navigate these spaces as not having to feel on the defense all the time. And that was definitely indicated in the next question. So what is it like being a Black woman in computational biology? There is a multicultural and interdisciplinary hurdle of we're still trying to get individuals, right, who may or may not have computational biology programs, or maybe have only interacted with their bioinformatics core, but haven't necessarily had the chance to see that comp bio is more than just a service, but a field worth researching and advancing and benefiting many other different fields. So a faculty cited, this dual battle of trying to convince individuals to continue collaborating, and especially experimentalists who have a hard time seeing that it's an equal partnership in that way. We also talked about how most of the joyful collaborations that they have come from people who get it. For this individual, this meant other women of color or other non-binary people within the field who have a little bit more of the perspective and the layered identity of navigating these environments. And so, of course, I guess we could also say that maybe these scientific collaborations are a little bit more useful, but sometimes if you cannot fully understand, it's great to just know that these collaborations are there and able to make people feel a little bit more comfortable. A grad student cited a lack of administrative attention. So when bringing up initiatives that benefit Black and Brown individuals within their graduate programs or their STEM spaces, just a lack of attention from administration, where complaints or suggestions or ways to make their communities a little bit better just go in one ear and out of the other. And sometimes I think we talk a lot about bias training, but sometimes the impact of these initiatives don't fully go into effect if administration is not fully on board. And so this was another important piece, but also from another individual who came from more of a technology environment, working where she was not only the only woman, but she was the only person of color. And sometimes these monocultural environments can just continue to be a little bit more hostile socially and continue to weigh on us as individuals as we're trying to do the science and the work that we all love. Last thing I want to mention about this is the academic barriers that a lot of us have encountered. Of course, sometimes when you put out a job, you want people to have a certain background, or you want them to have certain qualifications. But I think another barrier that has been discussed and definitely echoed within our members was when their qualifications or their degree or their PhD didn't come from the country that they are trying to work in. And so this was not only an individual experience, but this was something that someone said has affected their entire families who are immigrants and who were unable to advance and use all of their expertise in their new countries right away after having to go back to school and essentially re-earn all of your qualifications in that same field to that same degree. And I think another really important point of conversation is what happens if you are not necessarily a minority within even your country, right? So we have many African constituents who have this perspective, who we talked about this a little bit, where presumably they're coming from environments and training from entire computational biology programs where 99.9% of the individuals are Black. A question we have is kind of, why aren't more of these individuals offered visibility within the global computational biology community? Why aren't they interacting more and being seen more for the amazing science that they do? When oftentimes we hear the sentiment that there are just not enough Black people in the field, when we have an entire continent of really amazing, bright, and talented individuals who are coming from all of these tremendous and rigorous programs in the field. Why aren't they offered the same platform? And I think that's something we have to think about when we think about how geography and culture might continue to be a barrier to inclusion or liberation within STEM communities. And lastly, we talked about, of course, taking this all into mind is why we all joined the network. We are rejuvenated, essentially. I always use the word refreshing when you see people that look like you doing amazing things and being a part of important conversations that not only improve yourself as an individual and a professional, but will have an impact on the larger field as a whole. And so, of course, mentoring is really important, visibility and finding different pathways to success. But I think something else I want to mention here is, I'm sure we've all seen this graphic, but though representation is important, seeing people that look like me doing awesome things is tremendously important. It's not the same as liberation. It's not the same, essentially, as when we think of inclusion. I think personally we should try to broaden that definition a little bit more. And so this graphic here depicts, the difference between equality and equity. But if there are still barriers in the way, right? Even though if I create an equitable environment, I see someone that looks like me wearing a purple shirt doing something I want to do. If the barrier, the actual fence is still there that people are going to have to constantly try to climb, then there's still more work to be done. And I think that's a really important focus of how I imagine the network continuing to work together. And so we have some initiative boards who kind of work towards these goals. We have a seminar and workshop series board, which again goes back to that critical scientific engagement. We have an event coming up I'll mention in just a second, really just creating that platform for STEM communication and engaging within the science community. We have a Communicating Our Science board, which is really focused on profiling the individuals in our community, sharing the amazing science that we do on our website, but really creating that space to be seen for a lot of individuals who are so incredibly talented to share not only their origin stories, but how they got to where they are as scientists. What they're doing, what they're interested in, and how they can contribute to the STEM community. And we also have a grad school resources board that is currently working on putting together a blog series and a database of resources specifically for applying to computational biology programs, but also navigating the experience of doing that as a Black woman. So a lot of us have an experience of applying to grad school and the school being in a super small town where the town itself is less than 1% Black people. That can take a toll mentally on your social life, but also on during a time where you need an incredible amount of support from people outside of your program to get you through. It can really be sometimes detrimental to us. And so talking about and sharing those experiences is something that's going to bring a little bit more visibility to what the process is actually like for us. And so if you are a Black woman in this field, we encourage you to become a member right on the homepage of our website. Your membership earns you a monthly community email update, essentially a newsletter from us, keeping you up to date with everything that's going on. You will have access to global virtual meetups. So we have another meetup coming up here in August where you'll get to talk to and connect with individuals from literally around the world. We currently have, as I mentioned before, 80+ women in the network. So you'll get their contact information and you'll be invited to our Slack so that you can interact with us. And then of course, you know, that platform for visibility and collaboration, learning and mentoring. And it's free to join and fully participate. And that's something I intend to keep true for the rest of our time. If you're wondering how you can contribute to the website, we have a Jobs++ page that is right underneath our resources tab. You are able to go on and upload like a postdoc position, a research position, or other job, select your target audience right there, and people can contact you and reach out to you with application details with your email. But this job board is open to the entire community. So even though if you're posting a job for our community, other computational biologists can use this as well. Also, as previously mentioned, we have a blog page. We just published our last story that talks a little bit more in detail about what I just shared with you about our experiences at our meet and greet. We only have 2 blogs up there now, but it's going to be fully populated very soon with amazing stories from our members and their perspectives, sharing their journeys with the community. So definitely engage here as well. And we also have ways for individuals who may not identify as Black women or non-binary people in this field to become allies. We currently have about 120+ allies within the community. So these are individuals who have dedicated things like mentorship, collaborations, specific resources to the network and really dedicating themselves to staying on top of and advocating for us as a community. And for us, this starts with listening to us. So hopefully this story was intriguing for you today and encourages you to learn a little bit more about us and keep your ear to the ground about more of our experiences. Sharing a resource, as I mentioned before, the Jobs++ page is a great way to do that. Or if you have this kind of goes into the next one, engaging with us. If you have a specific research topic you'd like to present to the members that maybe it's surrounding like health disparities research or something that's particularly of interest to our members, we'd invite you to give a research talk or a coffee chat and just sit and talk about the amazing work you're doing. As mentioned before, we have a seminar and workshop series coming up. So we'll be really engaging with hoping to showcase Black computational biologists, but also allies within the community and in the field. And then, of course, probably a little bit more importantly than any of these is continuing to amplify our voices, continuing to cite our work, sharing our stories, but I'll say this again, to cite our work as scientists. We have so many amazing contributions to the field, and it's really important that we continue to give and provide and acknowledge all of the amazing work being done in this rapidly growing field. And if you become an ally, you are put on our Ally Central page. This is the page where you can kind of see and contact individuals who are engaging with the community in a certain way. Our members are able to go on and see basically just page search someone who's providing mentorship, or if they're interested in collaborations, they can see who's providing or willing and open to connect on that front. So that's really amazing as well. And there's some of the names on here are absolutely astounding to see. So this is another way that we continue to interface with the broader comp bio community. Um, Briefly mention already our upcoming seminar and workshop series. You can find a little bit more about this on our Twitter page and our website. We have a virtual meetup coming up right in August where we'll continue to socialize and connect with people. Many upcoming career panels and invited research talks that will continue to showcase Black scientists in the field and create more of a space for dialoguing in comp bio. I also want to take the time to acknowledge our partners at PLOS Computational Biology. This is a really amazing partnership that will stem in many ways, but I've kind of boiled it down to really collaborative science communication and creating better comp bio communities and talking and really examining what we can do maybe as PIs, as grad students, as other academics, as other independent scientists to really support not only Black women, but other Black scientists as a whole within the field. Professional development and networking. We have lots of members who are interested in careers in science editing and other ways of communication. So this is another important aspect of our partnership with them. But then of course, just continuing to build a long-term partnership and platform for continuing to amplify Black researchers in comp bio and continuing to provide that space, especially on international stages such as these to continue showcasing their work. And so I just want to thank everyone for your time today and for listening. This has been absolutely amazing. If you would like to learn more about us on our website, either become a member or become an ally, you can scan this code right here and it'll take you straight to blackwomencompbio.org. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, please do that here on this code or type in BLK Women Comp Bio and follow us there. We also have a PDF flyer for you to share. Maybe you have like an email bulletin or online listserv you'd like to share a little bit more about us, you can download this PDF. But if you are an ISMB attendee today, you'll also find more of this information and this flyer to download in your Bioinformatics Bazaar. In this photo, many of you have probably seen this already, but this was a screenshot of the awesome conversation we had in our meet and greet. It's so great to see 5 countries represented here, essentially, and all the conversation that we had. And just scrolling through the Connect page and just looking at all the smiles and the faces here is really important and exciting for me. So I'm also reachable at this website and my Twitter. I'm happy to take any questions and welcome any comments as well. So thank you.
So Jenea, this is absolutely fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for your willingness to join us on so short notice. We have just a few minutes, but I did want you to clarify a few points. We have a few questions in the chat box just around an ally and whether you can join the network being part of any ethnicity. You can do that, and that's part of your ally features of your network, correct?
That's correct. Allies are anyone who don't identify as a Black woman in the field, but you're able to equally engage and communicate with our members right on our website. So definitely encourage you to do that as well.
And there's also just a note that the second QR code is disabled, but we will get some information out on Slack and Twitter to help Jenea pass this stuff along. And again, it is in the Bioinformatics Bazaar, yep. A little link at the top. I have a final question in the last 2 minutes because we do have to turn the room back over to 3D SIG. In your opinion, as you have navigated your career in science and being a graduate student, which is absolutely amazing, you've done all this and you are also a graduate student, what would you give, what is your piece of advice to anyone who does want to be an ally? What's the one thing that they can do to really elevate anyone who is a minority within their research community?
Yeah, I think it's an especially important time to answer that question. I think something I've been directing people to lately is the Black in the Ivory hashtag, either on Twitter or I know now there's a Nature editorial surrounding basically an online anthology of experiences of Black people in general, not just in STEM, but in academia in general. I think the focus there is to continue to listen and to understand that perspective. Right now, many of us, I think, really need advocates, really need allies who are not just alongside us, who are colleagues, who are grad students just like us, or are faculty just like us. But I think in some areas we need to really transformative perspective and who's leading us, who are the higher ups, who's the administration, where is money going into our communities, and how can we continue to engage, I think, on a more serious front with the higher ups is what I'm trying to say. And so, especially faculty, you guys have a little bit more lifespan at academic institutions than grad students or even undergrads who are basically in and out in the grand scheme of things. We really need faculty involved in making those long-term partnerships with organizations, but also uplifting the voices of grad students, especially in these times. So I think it's an incredibly important time to listen. And again, I'll point and direct everyone to the Black in the Ivory hashtag. You can find it as a Nature editorial, but that's an excellent place to start to listen, which is really the first step to me. So yeah.